The Cleveland Cavaliers are up 3-0 on the Miami Heat. Game 3 in Miami was not much of a contest, let's put it that way. I know the Shedeur Sanders news has completely shifted everyone's focus away from the Cavaliers, but they just took a 3-0 series lead over Miami with a dominant 124-87 victory. That is a 37-point butt whooping. The Cavs got off to a bit of a slow start. Miami actually started this game playing really good basketball. They threw the first punch and were up early. And then after that, it was all Cleveland. I made a couple notes. When the Cavs bench unit came in, their first shift in the first quarter, Ty Jerome, DeAndre Hunter helped lead the Cavs on an 18-0 run. After that initial run, Miami had no counterpunch. None. Zero. Zilch. Nada. An 18-0 run. Jerome had 4 assists in the first quarter alone. With 2 minutes to go in the first half, the Cavs had 18 assists on 22 made field goals. That's incredible. And Miami had 6 points in the paint. Cleveland on both ends of the court completely dominated the Miami Heat, not letting them get into their offensive sets. And offensively, even without Darius Garland, put on a display thanks to some clever ball handling, some incredible passing. They finished the game, by the way, Cleveland did, with 31 assists on 46 field goals. Ty Jerome with a career high 11 assists in the contest. No Darius Garland, no problem. I did think it was interesting, at least in that first little portion of the game. That first little portion, it looked like the Cavs offense was out of whack, out of sync. It was just clunky. And I was like, oh, no Darius. It's pretty evident how much the complexion of this Cavs offense changes when he's not a part of the game plan. But as soon as Ty Jerome came in that second unit, got with the normal 5 guys they were together, it was like this. Thanos, boom, gone, goodbye. Good luck. Miami, you had no chance after that. Jerome was incredible. Hunter was incredible. On the game, let's go through some of these numbers. The starters played 30 minutes max. 32 for Mobley. That was the most of any player on Cleveland. He had 19 and 6 on 8 of 13 shooting. Jared Allen was terrific tonight. 22 points. He was a plus 20 in 26 minutes. 9 rebounds. He was 8 and 9 from the floor. Donovan struggled to find his shot. 13 points. Just 4 of 13 from the floor. Didn't need much from him, though. That's because Max Strus played maybe his best game in 3 months. 18 points. Made 4 threes. 9 rebounds and 5 assists. Took on a much bigger playmaking role with Darius Garland out on the sideline. How about DeAndre Hunter in 28 minutes? 6 of 8 from the floor, 3 of 5 from 3, 6 of 6 from the line, 4 rebounds, 3 assists, and 21 points off the bench. Ty Jerome, like I said, 11 assists, 13 points. He was 5 of 11. And Dean Wade, after not playing much at all in games 1 and 2, played 22 minutes, grabbed 4 boards, had 2 assists, was a plus 19. He didn't score for the 3rd consecutive game, but he did play a much better 22 minutes than we saw in the past. Okoro had 9 minutes, and then the other guys got some garbage time at the end. Porter Jr., Javonte Green, Tristan Thompson, Jalen Tyson. They played the final 5 minutes to close out the game. Sam Merrill got the start. In place of Darius, he had an 0 for game, 0 for 3 from 3, 0 for 3 from the floor. He did have 2 rebounds and assists, but just played 19 minutes, and partially because Jerome and Hunter and Wade were so good that they took the minutes. If there's anything we've learned from the Cavs over the early part of this playoff run, Kenny's just going to play the hot hand. If you're playing well that day, you're going to continue to get minutes. We saw it with Merrill in games 1 and 2. We saw it with Dean Wade today in game 3. And when you're playing a team like Miami that doesn't really have the firepower to keep up with Cleveland, you can be a little more flexible in your rotations and in your lineup combinations to make sure the best guys on that night are on the court at any given time so you can continue to push that lead up to a level where Miami just simply can't come back. I'll be totally honest. Hand up. Like, if you guys follow UCSS, you know I was on a Shedeur stream literally 15 minutes ago. I did not see much of the second half. So I'm going to really break down what I saw in the first half, and I apologize if I missed anything drastic in the second. I sent out some texts to a few other people to ask if I missed anything. And my guy Luca over at Real Cavs Fans, if you don't follow Real Cavs Fans, then here is Luca, who I texted and said, hey, I missed most of the second half. What do I need to know? His text was, and I quote, Other than you having about as much of an impact on the game as Tyler Herro did while you're in Cleveland, not much. Jerome was awesome. Hunter was awesome. Dean got Okoro's minutes and looked really good defensively. So that is the quick recap on the second half. But let's give you a little 2 cents on the first half. First and foremost, the defense was awesome for Cleveland. I mean, their best defensive performance in a long, long time. Miami is by no means an offensive juggernaut, so take it with a little bit of a grain of salt. But they held Miami to just 42 points in the first half, 87 for the game. Not a single quarter did Miami score 24 points or 25 or 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 23 in the fourth. And a lot of that came during garbage time, was the most points in any individual quarter Miami scored. I mentioned the points in the paint. In the first 22 minutes of the game, Miami had 6 points in the paint. That is an incredibly low number. For the game, they had just 30 points in the paint. I don't know exactly where that would rank among the fewest in a postseason in the last 10 years, but I bet you it's pretty damn close to being as few as you've had in a long, long, long time. That is a minuscule amount. For comparison, Cleveland had 60. They literally doubled them up in terms of points in the paint. The Cleveland Cavaliers did a great job shuffling their feet, keeping Miami out, forcing them to be a jump shooting team. And when you force a team like Miami to be a jump shooting team, that means you are banking, if you're a Miami fan, on Davion Mitchell, Andrew Wiggins, Hayward Highsmith, those guys to take and make open three-point looks. And 9 out of 10 times, if you were relying on that cast of characters to outshoot Donovan and Strus and Mobley and Hunter and Jerome and Wade and Merrill, Darius Garland tonight, you're going to lose that battle 99 out of 100 times. So defensively, I thought it was an awesome effort for the Cavs. In terms of rebounding, that's an area that Cleveland had struggled with in the first 2 games. Tonight, a 46-29 advantage on the glass, plus 17. That's a major turnaround from a Cleveland Cavaliers team that was not very good on the glass in the first 2 games at Rocket Arena. To beat the better teams in the East, Cleveland has to become a better rebounding team. Tonight was a step in the right direction. Offensively, I mentioned earlier, the first few minutes of the game was a little stagnant, a little clunky. The Cavs couldn't find a jump shot, and they weren't getting their normal paint touches. Why are paint touches so important? When Darius or Donovan or whoever gets a foot in the paint, it forces the defense to collapse, and that's what the Cavs are, at its most basic principle, trying to do to a defense. Force you into rotations and then attack said rotations. And Cleveland, in the first 5 minutes, didn't do a good job of that. That's why Miami was up by 6-7 points early on. And then Ty Jerome came in. And then DeAndre Hunter came in. And the second unit, which has been the Cavs' superpower all season, got in the game and just like that, flipped the switch. The entire script was rewritten. And an 18-0 run was just the start. It ended up becoming a 30-6 run or 30-5. I forget the exact number. And before you could blink an eye, the game was over. And now the Cavs are up 3-0. Game 4 is on Monday. You know, there's an Eric Spoelstra coach team. They're not going to go away. They'll come back more prepared. Certainly can't shoot worse than they did tonight. And they'll give Cleveland a fight in Game 4. But considering the fact that Indiana and Milwaukee are currently in a 2-1 battle, and Milwaukee just won the most recent game, and they have Game 4 at home, that could be a long 4-5 series. And the extra rest Cleveland can pick up here if they sweep the Miami Heat, which they very well could and probably should do on Monday, would give them another 4 or 5, maybe even 6 days off before Game 1 of the Eastern Conference semifinals. So I don't think it's imperative that they sweep, but I think it would be very beneficial to a Cavaliers team that can use all the rest it can get just to recover, to heal, to put in some new wrinkles to both the offense and the defense as they get ready to take on some of the better teams in the East. They probably will not sweep whoever they face in the next series. If it's Milwaukee, I don't see it being a very long series. I think Indiana could give Cleveland a little bit of trouble. I'm going to pick the Cavs, absolutely, but I think Indiana can give them a much tougher fight. And then you have Boston looming on the back end of that. So you want as much rest before the true battle begins. So I'm hoping they come out, play like a Game 7 and Game 4, even though the stakes are much lower, and basically put the stake in Miami's heart. It's nothing against Miami. They fight. They compete. They just don't have the horses. I mean, let's go player for player real quick. Donovan is better than any player on the Miami Heat. I'd argue Darius is just as good, if not better, than any player on the Heat. Evan Mobley's going to make a second-team All-NBA this season. He's the Defensive Player of the Year. This year is an undisputable fact, or maybe not a fact, but it's an undisputable argument to say that anyone in Miami is better than Evan Mobley. So at worst, the Cavs have the 2 best players in the series and 3 of the top 4. You could argue they have all 3 of the best players in the series. And then we could get into where does Jared Allen rank up and match up with Herro and Bam Adebayo. And then after those 2 for Miami, let's just give them 4 and 5 just to prove a point here. I'm not saying I agree, but let's just give them 4 and 5. 6, Jared Allen. 7, DeAndre Hunter. 8, Ty Jerome. 9, Sam Merrill in the series. Like, I guess Davion Mitchell's played a little better, but my point is my point. It is an outclassed team whose best players outside of Tyler Herro are more defensively oriented than they are offensively oriented, which is why Miami has had such a hard time scoring against the Cleveland defense that when locked in has been awesome. And Cleveland was awesome tonight. And I expect Cleveland to be awesome again come Monday night in Game 4. There's no reason for them not to be. Now, was tonight a performance that can compete with Boston and OKC? Hell yeah. Was Game 2 in that second half good enough to compete with those teams? No. But I love the rebound from this Kenny Atkinson squad. I love the fact that they saw and experienced a little bit of playoff adversity and came back and put it behind them in dominant fashion. That's what championship teams do. That is what the best teams in the NBA do. And Cleveland, just like they have for the most of the regular season, is proving that they belong in the conversation as the elites of the elites with the OKCs, with the Bostons, and maybe that's it. Maybe that's the entire conversation. I don't really have a ton of comments from the game. It was an ass kicking. Cleveland was dominant, start to finish. They did a terrific job limiting Tyler Herro. After all that talk, Herro just had 13 points, 5 of 13 from the floor, 1 of 3 from 3. Turned the ball over 3 times, had 3 assists. Bam had his best offensive game of the series, but if Bam scoring 22 points is your best offensive weapon, it is going to be a short series. This is exactly what is supposed to happen when a 1 seed takes on a 10 seed. Miami won 37 games in the regular season. They lost 22 games at home in the regular season. Cleveland lost 18 games total. See what I'm saying? It's not really a fair fight. The Cavs have a gun. Miami has a sharpened pencil. Let's read some comments here, and we will get out of here. Sean Dunn says, let's go Cavs. Ohio State of Mind says, nice pickup for the Browns. J47 says, foot on the pedal to the very end. Great game. Sean Dunn says they mollywopped them. Cal Cambridge says, who do we play after the Heat? You play the winner of the Milwaukee-Indiana series. Indiana currently leads 2-1, but it is still a long way to go. Optimus Prime 22 says, Cavs win, Browns win, Guardians sweep. Let's go. Let's see what else. We get. J47 says 13 more wins to go. He's right, 13. Josh Sawyer says, this proves me right with the broom emoji. Go Cavs. Greg Martin said, finally got some productive minutes out of Dean Wade. Hopefully Dean can settle in and be a reliable big man off the bench. Hopefully the change is setting. Hey, fact. If Dean Wade's not in the rotation, the Cavs have no size on the bench. None. Unless you want to play Tristan Thompson, but with all due respect to Tristan, I don't want to see him in a high-pressure leverage situation. I just don't think he can move the same way that's needed to stay in front of the Tatums and the Browns. Boston will call it that switch every single possession and attack them. Against Indiana, if they play the Pacers in the next round, Indiana runs up and down nonstop. Just don't think Tristan can play that style of basketball anymore. They need Dean not to play 30 minutes a night, but to be able to fill in 10 to 15 minutes as a reliable backup big so Jared and Evan can catch their breath. And tonight was by far the best he played. He played more minutes tonight than he did in games 1 and 2 combined. He didn't score, but they don't need him to score. All they need Dean to do is, if you're open, Dean, shoot it. If you're not, keep moving, play good defense, rebound, and fit in. And by far, and Greg Martin, you are 100% right, by far the best performance of the season for Dean Wade, of the postseason, excuse me. Let's see. I did not mention this, but Nervendel says, Nervendel? I hope I pronounced that right. The Cavs have had 7 different players score 20 points in this series. So that would be Allen, Mobley, Mitchell, Garland, Jerome, Hunter. Did Strus get to 20? Had to have been Strus, right? Strus last game, game 2? Had to have been. All right, but that's going to wrap it up. I'm sorry. I wish I had more analysis to give you guys. At the end of the day, and a butt whooping's a butt whooping. Sometimes it's as simple as the Cavs are a lot better than the Miami Heat. I think it's 6. I think it's 6, not 7. I believe it's 6. 6 different players have scored 20 points, not 7. Unless Strus, I'll tell you right now. I'll pull up the box score. Game 2, did Strus score 20 points in this game? If he did, it is 7. If he didn't, it is 6. Strus had 14 in game 2. In game 1, Strus had, it's 6. 6 different Cavaliers have played, have scored 20 or more points, not 7, 6. Salish says, best defense in 2 months. Without DG, the defense picks up. DG is great, but this is a fact. Mikey, you rock. Spo isn't great without great players. Thank you, Salish. Yeah, a great coach is only great because they have great players. A bad coach could have absolutely helped, but a great coach with bad players is a bad team. You can coach and be the best coach in the world, but if you have guys that can't make shots and can't defend, it doesn't really matter. Darius is not as bad of a defender as I think some people think he is. But yeah, when he's not out there, it means more minutes for Merrill and Dean Wade and Okoro and guys like that who are just better defenders than Darius. But offensively, the Cavs aren't nearly as good offensively without Darius as they are when he's playing. And I know they scored 124 points tonight, which is the most they've scored in the series, but let's not pretend to take this game as a bulletproof data point. They made their fewest threes of the series. They were only 15 of 40 from 3. They shot great. They scored a bunch of points in the garbage time minutes, but tonight was more of just an overall team win, a dominating performance by the Cavs, and enjoy the fact that they are up 3-0. They are going to win the first-round series with ease, which, by the way, may sound silly, but they get the last 2 first-round series they played. Orlando in 7, they lost to the Knicks. So winning a first-round series with ease is not something to take lightly. It is not a luxury. It's not something to be overlooked. It is a blessing, and it means you are a very, very, very talented basketball team. All right, I've talked enough this weekend. I want to relax. I want to enjoy my day off. So we'll see you on Monday for the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. We'll preview Cavs Game 4 and recap all the craziness that happened to the Browns in this weekend's NFL Draft. I appreciate you guys tuning in. We'll see you guys later. And remember, go Cavs.